All right, so just woke up. As usual, I for some reason feel like making videos after I've just woken up. Hardly the best time for singing, but that seems to be my compulsion. So it'll do. Um, and I want to talk about something really, really important today. It might be the most important thing I've ever spoken about in a video. And I've made quite significant progress with my own singing recently, and I'm going to explain why that is. Um, So I've been doing things a little bit differently. Not radically differently, but it's been an extension of what I've been practicing and preaching for some time, a quite significant extension. Um, and let me explain. So, when it comes to the strong use of the chest voice, when you're operating outside of your comfort zone, it feels heavy. It feels kind of, it feels laborious. It feels squeezed. And there's a very, very strong temptation because of all of the stuff floating around. I would say, if anything, that the consensus, the orthodoxy, floating around about um, how everything should just feel kind of light and you should feel nothing in the throat and everything should just feel very released, as though the sound, the air were just passing straight through the throat, that kind of thing. People do talk about chord closure. They do chord closure exercises, but I've come to believe that they're not going anywhere near far enough. Um, and actually, I don't want to get too distracted here because that's the way my brain works. I'll go off on tangents constantly as they occur to me. But anyway, so when you're working your chest voice, as I say, the temptation is, especially as you go up, to kind of lighten the load, right? And this is one of the things that's kind of crept up on me recently. Um, is the idea I found myself saying to myself and to my students more and more and more over the last few months: don't treat vocal exercises as though they were singing or proto singing. When we sing, we want to make a nice sound. When we sing, we want to make a beautiful sound. And I would suggest that this is something akin to um, looking for the evidence. I'm always using the analogy of cooking, looking for the evidence of the final product in the primary ingredients, right? Um, or let's extend it even further and think about baking. You don't look for anything really resembling a cake in batter. You know what I mean? It has to go through a certain process. The elements have to combine in a certain way over a certain period of time to transform cake batter into a cake. And the end product is quite different from the primary ingredients that go into it. If we want to just go back to the simpler analogy of cooking, if you've got your garlic, excuse me, your olive oil, your spice, your lemon juice, um, all those things, your onion, those kind of primary ingredients that go into a lot of savory meals, they on their own are very, very abrasive flavors. They're not things that, generally speaking, people enjoy consuming in isolation. And that's kind of the direction that I've gone more and more in when it comes to vocal training for voice building, as opposed to um, buffing up, um, or let's say, as opposed to going directly for a finished sound, right? This is the problem, going directly for a finished sound. Now, where all this is going is that what I realized is that even though I was working my chest voice quite strongly, I wasn't working it anywhere near enough still. And I've gone way, way deeper on that sensation of like, oh, and it's not, when you're practicing it, it's not a nice sound. It's not a pretty sound. It's, the exercise isn't there to model a finished sound. It's there to stimulate a certain kind of growth so that when you go back to your singing and you can let some of that weight go, you can let some of that intensity go and go to a more of a mixy place, if you like, depending on where you are in your range and what you're doing and how loud you're singing, etc., what kind of music that you're singing. Um, it just comes out way, way more free, way, way stronger, because you've kind of invested more strength into, let's say, the bank of chest voice, and then when you withdraw, you're withdrawing less, right? You're not withdrawing everything at once. You're not calling upon all of your chest voice capacity, but you're siphoning off just what you need. And what this also does, I'm going to throw in yet another analogy here, or a metaphor. You know, if you imagine a tree, most of what we see is above the ground, a lovely, beautiful oak tree or something like that, right? Now, the root structure itself is kind of a gnarly thing. It's not a pretty thing, and you mostly don't see it, but it's there under the ground, keeping the tree stable. The tree cannot stand up without the root structure. You know, another way of thinking about this is to think about this as the foundation of a house. So we want to, or a building of some kind, we want to have a nice, strong foundation, a very, very strong foundation, in order to stabilize the top. Okay, so just to illustrate this now, my cat's crying. All right, boy, I'll be in a minute. Uh, I'm gonna show you how to work with the vowel E to achieve this. I love the E vowel for this because it gives you a balance of backward and forward kind of resonance, right? So it has bright qualities, it lends itself to bright qualities. The Maloki school uses the U first of all, and I studied with a teacher who taught this, and he had a fantastic voice, maybe my favorite voice of all the teachers I've studied with, so I knew that there was something to this. Um, but the U for me was too heavy in the end. It was too difficult to get that squeal or that edge, that focus that I have subsequently discovered really is the thing that kind of grows your voice more than anything, you know, more than the laryngeal position, more than anything, that looking for that bright squeak at the center of the sound. And you achieve it not by, you know, like this with twang and stuff like that, making your throat small and emphasizing just the higher harmonic partials, but by really, really going for as much strength as possible from the source right here. As you go higher, it wants to loosen. It wants to get kind of fluffy and loose and dull, and it wants to fall back. And you have to resist that at all costs. Now, here's the catch, and I think this is where a lot of teachers and a lot of trainee singers have gone wrong, and certainly where I went wrong for a very, very long time, to some extent. Losing my train of thought. Right. It's like entering an arena. It's like a high stakes game, you know, like entering an arena as a gladiator. When you enter into this incredibly intense, very, very pressurized sound, when you have a go at it, right? You have to really, really commit. And you have to commit at every single moment to finding that bright, focused quality right here at the chords. And kind of keeping the sound pressure down like this. You know, that's the sensation, kind of coming straight down on top of the chords. If you falter for a moment and you think, oh no, this is a lot of pressure, I'm going to back off, that's actually where, because you're already in the middle of it, you're already out on the limb, right? And this is where the throat muscles around here, the extrinsic muscles, will start to try to come in if you hesitate. So you really, really have to go for it. You really, really have to commit. You have to stay committed. It's also incredibly important to do this with great moderation, as in very, very short practice periods, depending on your level of vocal fitness, of course. Everyone's going to be different, but as a general rule, as you're building this, as you're experimenting with this, what I'm going to show you, very, very, very short practice sessions. Don't take it very high. Don't take this incredibly full, you know, this sound where you're actually refusing to lighten the load. You're trying to focus and compress the load. You're not trying to lighten it. Don't take this over a lot of range. Build it up very, very slowly. And also very, very important is rest. If you haven't rested, if you're not resting enough between practice sessions, and then you're basically just going to wear your voice out, right? So rest is absolutely essential. Okay. With that said, let's play with a few things. Now, remembering, I'm not asking for a pretty sound. No, it's not that. Okay, that's already putting my voice towards the falsetto end of things. It doesn't sound like it because it's still connected. It's quite soft, but it's that mellowness that sort of cues you into the fact that the falsetto is too prevalent. So instead, we're going to make quite an abrasive sound, more like okay, a raw ingredient. And you're going to feel like, oh my god, I'm dying. Like everything expands like crazy underneath because the pressure backs up between the lower abdominal muscles, which are moving the air pressure, and the glottis, which is holding it back. So there's like a kind of pressure sandwich effect, right? So you can go. Now, I know that I'm going to get comments, saying this is completely wrong and this is controversial and all the rest of it. I kind of don't care at this point because I've spent so long listening to those kinds of voices and they didn't serve me in the end, and this is what has served me. Okay. It's not like I've just made this up. There are, it is consistent with a certain school, but I'm afraid to say that it's not widely taught. So with that in mind, yeah. And the wonderful thing is you can do this with me, you can try it. If you do exactly what I've said, you're going to find that it works and you're going to be like, wow, that's crazy. So you don't have to take my word for it, basically. Okay. So let's continue. Don't underdo it. Really, really commit. Okay. And you might want to just stick with that. Just do like 3 or 4 or something like that, and then let it sit for a while. Notice how your voice feels. I should have had you do a falsetto hoot to start with so you can feel the difference. Even in the falsetto it shows up. Hoo! It sort of fills out and focuses the falsetto as well, and you'll notice that. All right, good. So that's kind of it really for the moment. That's all I wanted to say. I can feel, so this is, as I said earlier, this is this basic, those few scale phrases that I just did basically are the warm-up that I've done today so far, the sum total of it. So my voice is still warming up, and I can feel actually, even in the course of this video, it's kind of become crispier and more present, okay? And you should have noticed the same thing if you followed my example. What you can then do, for more advanced singers, is do a little slide. Let some of that pressure fall away now. Let your voice kind of go to more of a mixy place. And just see if it's holding together better. Ah! Something like that. Ah! And just notice. Huh. Or you can even, ha! Ha! Yeah! Again, I've just woken up. It's not my best work. I know it's a little bit ragged, but it's wow, it's actually holding together, right after I've gotten out of bed and I've still got morning voice. So, yep. I'll explore this a little bit more, maybe with the other vowels in another video, but that's about it for that for the moment. Please get in touch if you have any questions, or if you struggle with the exercise. I can certainly help out with that. All right. See you later.